Hi, I'm Michael Wyatt. I'm about to show you the next tool in the DivShares service. Let's assume you have just scanned the Australian stock market, which has produced a shortlist of dividend-paying companies. This shortlist is called the Prospect Report, providing pertinent information for investors to perform their own stock analysis so they can reveal the best of those stocks. In this video, I've set out to achieve two objectives. Firstly, to explain clearly how to use the information in each section of the Prospect Report. Then I would like to take this opportunity to demonstrate the easiest and most effective way to break down this report. Before long, you'll be able to use these tools to find your own quality dividend stocks. Let's start by taking a look at the general layout of this report. Each row running across the page represents a company listed on the share market. Vertically are columns and info blocks, some including historic information at 6 monthly intervals for the past 2 years. As you work through this report, the task becomes easier by removing unwanted prospects. To omit a company, simply click on the cull icon cited on the right. Culled companies will remain at the bottom of the page, which can be retrieved at any time. Just to show you, we're just going to cull 2 companies. And if we go to the bottom of the page, here are these 2 companies sitting down here. And to reverse that situation, we only need to click on the cull button again. Code Company Frank. Over to the left of the report is the ASX code, company name and franking group, which have been included only for reference purposes. Gross dividend cover. This fundamental ratio tells us the number of times a company's payout of dividends and taxes is covered by its profits to determine the sustainability of returns. This index can also help us to identify companies with potential for growth, looking for prospects that have achieved a surplus in profits which can be invested back into the business. My benchmark for gross dividend cover is 1.3, give or take, but never below 1, avoiding companies without sufficient profit to cover its payouts. When gross dividend cover is 1.3 or more, a grey highlight appears to catch your attention. Should any company fail this test, cull it immediately from your report. 52-week high-low range. This is a record of the lowest and highest prices recorded over the past year. Determine where the current price is positioned between these values. Long-term investors look for stocks that are well priced at the time, towards the bottom of the high-low range, to avoid the risk of buying high and selling low. When the current price is in the bottom 30%, the lowest value is highlighted yellow. Let's look at a couple of examples. For instance, AQZ, we look at the current price, which is $2.96. The range has gone from 97 cents up to $3.02. So at that price, we're very close to the top of that range. In other words, that stock is overpriced. That is something that I would omit from my report. On the other hand, if we look at CGF, current price is $5.09, right, which fits in between 282 and 1043. At the moment, it's highlighted yellow to let us know that it's within the bottom 30% of that range. Let's now look at some historic prices. This section shows the share price over the past 2 years to identify pricing trends and early signs of growth. When a stock price has had growth between periods, the price is highlighted grey. We also need to watch for timely opportunities, a fall in price due to minor company setbacks or market overreaction. When this happens, the current price is flagged red. Let's have a quick look at some prices. ASH We can see here that there's been 3 periods that it's had growth in the share price, and in the latest price it's dropped to 31 cents. We take a quick look at FMG. This stock has actually had significant growth, including the current pricing, and it's continued decline. One thing to note is there's lots of red in the current price column, and this usually happens if there's been a recent stock market correction or a stock market crash, where all stocks are pushed downward. So any stock that is considered overpriced at the time should be culled from your report. Net dividend yield. Net dividend yield is a ratio developed by DivShares to equally compare the return on investment of individual stocks from different franking groups. Good decisions can only come from clear information. Look for trends and correlations between yield, price, and cover to determine the company's capacity to maintain yield. Finally, looking down at the current yield, remove those prospects that fall below your expectations. There is much to be considered when sifting through the prospect report to find those standout stocks. So where do we start? Let me show you how I systematically break down all of this information. Okay, at this stage, I'm only going to focus on one group of information to start my analysis, and this is gross dividend cover. Don't try to move across the page because you'll probably become very overwhelmed and very confused with all this information. So let's just stick with this first block. Now, if we scroll down, we'll start to see some interesting companies there. There's some development there, and there's one stock here that has actually had a good gross dividend cover all the way through over those 5 periods. That's exactly what we're looking for. Now there are a few others. There's one here which is starting to look healthy. It has dropped, but it still remained above 1. There's another company here which has dropped, but again it's still over 1. So what we need to do is we need to get rid of any companies that appear weak and don't fit the bill. So as you can see here, we haven't any grey areas or continuity over those 2 years where the gross dividend cover has remained at roughly 1.3. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete those weaker stocks. So just glancing down that column, we're just going to sweep down, moving very quickly. I think we might skip him. Continuing down, this won't take long. That brings us down to what we were looking at before. Again, it's dropped below 1. Let's omit. Now, at the moment, I'm quite happy to look at that stock. This one here seems to have bounced around. We might leave him in the chase. Again, below 1. Possibilities. Looking good. I'll keep that one in. And it's pretty safe to say we can just remove those remaining stocks. Second glance, okay, right, good. All right, so what we've done is we have completely reduced the entire share market down to 6 stocks that could be of interest. So let's start to now move across the page and look at how things are shaping up. So let's look at the current price. At the moment on this first stock, price is $1.56, highest price is $2.09. I think that's probably a little bit too high, so possibly overpriced. We're going to get rid of him. Current price of $6.40, in the top of that range again, overpriced. Yellows mean they're in the bottom. We're looking at the second stock here, $2.19, and it's around about mid-range. So we can possibly leave that one in the mix. Whoops. He just disappeared. Well, I'm not going to bother to retrieve him at the moment. Now, we can move across here and look at the yields of those three remaining stocks. So at the moment, look, under current market conditions, I think if you can get a net yield of around about 5 to 5.6, I think that's not too bad. So at this stage, I'm going to recommend that you probably keep a copy of those three remaining stocks. And to do that, you only need to touch down on the download PDF button, which will create a report. That report has a legend. It also will have those three remaining stocks. And at the very bottom, you will have a record of the filter settings that you used in Share Search to find those stocks, if ever you want to go back. At this stage, we're going to look at individual companies and find out a little bit about what's going on inside those companies. Now at this stage, I'm going to select SHV, a company called Select Harvest, and if we click down on that ASX code, that will now take us to the company lookup page, and we've preloaded that particular company to drill down and find some interesting information. Well, that's it for today. During my next video, we'll use the company lookup tool to drill down even further. Remember, at any time you can sign up to DivShares to access resources and start practicing. Until then, take good care.